Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I am going to talk about channeling energy and what to do with all that extra time. So this can apply once again to sobriety and or stroke recovery and vestibular recovery. There is uh, a surprising amount of extra time that we are gifted when we get sober. I knew I did a lot of drinking, right? That was obvious to me when I finally got sober. But what I didn't realize is how much time in the day was lost when I was drinking. Like that I wasn't doing anything productive. Because I a lot of times would drink and do whatever it is I needed to do, whether it was, I don't know, vacuum or cook dinner or whatever the things I had to do, I would do while drinking. Well, here's the thing. I didn't realize how many things I didn't get to do because I was drinking, that my day didn't have to be filled with things I had to do. My day could also be filled with things I got to do. Um, it was almost overwhelming to have all of this time and not know what to do with it. I had an abundance of time and I had an abundance of energy because when I was drinking, I was tampering down that energy. That was part of the reason why I drank, was to calm that energy down, because if I calm the energy down, then my thinker would calm down also. So add all this time and add a lot of active thinking, it can be dangerous to be stagnant in that early sobriety time. And what I found in stroke recovery and vestibular recovery is the same thing. Because of my disability, I had a lot more time, right? I didn't have a career anymore. And I got to that place where I recognized once again that my day was filled with a bunch of stuff I had to do. And I didn't really have a list of things that I got to do. And so I needed to find a way to channel that extra energy into something that was going to shift my mindset and um, and make sure that I didn't get into this dangerous stagnation time where my mind started really going into a state of depression. So I needed to get active. Now, active in stroke recovery was a little different than active in sobriety, but still the same. I needed to redirect, right? I needed to redirect. And what has helped me in all of these situations was substituting action for thinking. I cannot think my way out of thinking. I need to act my way into a new way of thinking. And what I heard early in sobriety was that if it's kind of like that, and what I'm trying to think of what the quote is. I'm having a mind collapse right now. Hold on. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, I'm having a stroke moment. So it's like I have to, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's a big one. It's a big one. Um, totally have lost my train of thought. 100% completely. The reason why I don't take this out of the recording is because there are a bunch of people in stroke recovery that go through this exact same thing that I'm dealing with right this second. And I want other people to know that it's normal. It's something that happens in stroke recovery. And it happens to a lot of us. And it's a feeling of humiliation, especially when I'm recording and putting it out in the public, that I just completely lost my train of thought and I can't get it back. Because that's how a lot of stroke recovery patients feel when they're trying to have a conversation with a loved one or a family member or their doctor, and or in a stroke recovery group, and they're talking and all of a sudden it's just gone and you can't get it back. Um, anyway, I have a note here in front of me. So I was talking about I can't think my way out of thinking, and I have to act my way to a new way of thinking. So I need action to replace my thoughts. Okay. So when I went to IOP in early sobriety, this was like the first 10 weeks of sobriety. I There was a counselor lady that was running the group, and there was like handouts every time I went. And one of the handouts, I have a folder still of all the handouts, and I love it. And I still reference it a lot because it's just, I don't know, it reminds me of where I was and how far I've come. But one of the handouts was a list of 100 things that I could do in sobriety. It was front and back, just a list of 100 things to do. Movement shifts mindset. So the list includes walking, cleaning, reading. I mean, it's 100 things. It goes on and on and on. So when I would feel this discomfort in my own skin, like sitting still, as much as we need to practice that, like I was talking about yesterday, um, move a muscle, change a thought. That was the quote I was trying to think of before my mind went blank. Move a muscle, change a thought. So when I was feeling like either I was craving or I was afraid that I was going to crave, it's like a slippery slope. So I would just pull out that list and I would pick something on it and do it. So even if it's something just like put a load of laundry in or do the dishes or go outside and see how many birds you can find, like spot while you're walking and stuff like that. It's really, I think, helpful to have a list like that is right in front of you that you can reference, because for me, and this is what my reading was mentioned this morning in my sobriety meeting, that um, man, my mind is having a difficult time today. The reading said this morning, man, it's gone again. Sorry. I'm not sorry. This is what it's like to live like this. Okay. We're going to move on. We're just going to keep moving on. So, there's also the just, oh, having a list. This is going to be a messy episode. Having a list in front of you helps with the fact that our imagination is very challenged in the beginning of sobriety. We're not used to using our imagination when we're drinking, other than figuring out ways to drink and to hide drinking. But when we take away the alcohol, coming up with ideas for things to do, even things to cook, that was a big deal for me. I struggled with that, is coming up with things to cook, and things to do. Anyway, it's difficult. Our imagination has not been practiced for a long time. So having that list in front of me of things to choose from to do was really helpful for me. And I found the same to be true in stroke recovery. I actually pulled out that old list when I started in stroke recovery because I remembered how helpful it was in early sobriety. So there's getting active, figuring out the things that we like to do, the things that we can do. It's the same in sobriety and stroke recovery. It's the same. Um, and then, not being afraid to just halfway through an activity be like, you know what? I'm not enjoying myself. I'm not going to do this anymore. That happened with me with knitting. For some reason, I want really badly to like knitting. I know how to knit. I just don't enjoy it. I really like to crochet. I wanted to like to knit because my mom knits and I have a friend that knits, and I wanted it to be like our bonding experience. But I just plain old don't like it. But I am crocheting actually right now, and I just finished another crochet thing. So, anyway, beyond all of these hobby-esque type things, there's also uh projects around the house that we've been putting off because we were drinking or because we didn't have the time. Those are also great ways to explore getting busy. But then there's the power of getting busy in and around our support groups. Again, in sobriety and stroke and vestibular recovery. I decided not too long ago, a few months ago, a couple months ago, I guess, that I was going to start getting active in and around my stroke and vestibular recovery, just like I did in sobriety. And that's been really great for me. So things like setting up meetings. I started 2 support group meetings that are only meeting once a month. Like all I have to do is is provide the Zoom room and provide like a lead to the conversation. It's nothing. It's nothing to sign on there and host a meetup, really, and allow people to meet each other, allow people to share their stories, allow people to just talk about how they're doing. All of that volunteer type work is really rewarding, but it also is a positive way to get active and meet new people myself. And I learned this from early sobriety when I was being told that I needed to be of service. Um, they were suggestions, but I'm telling you, all of these suggestions that I heard in sobriety, I needed to do all of them in order to stay sober. And because sober is both started out as physical sobriety, but it shifted over into this enormous concept of emotional sobriety. That's what I need to carry that emotional sobriety over to stroke and vestibular recovery as well. And in order to do that, I need to be active. It creates emotional sobriety, but also like purpose, and it is transformational for me to be of service. And it gives me the confidence and belonging that I need in my recovery um, by getting active in and around the fellowships. So I talked yesterday about the social situations and the awkwardness of showing up. I talked about doing even doing and being a part of despite the fear and awkwardness. And this topic really works in tandem with that because some of the action and volunteering and being a part of our fellowship can include in sobriety, like pouring coffee, being a greeter, making the coffee, arranging the chairs, um, being a greeter, like when people walk in the door. And in early sobriety, I did that. Um, it took me a little while to get comfortable, but I just did it because I was told to. And towards, I don't know, a year or so, I was right there, like setting up and breaking down chairs before and after the meetings and making coffee. I was never really comfortable being a greeter in person. I feel like today I would be better at it. I would be more comfortable doing it, but I can understand that being kind of uncomfortable to be. It's your job to walk up to strangers and welcome them. But doing these things, even though they're uncomfortable, helps to distract from the uncomfortable and gives you more of a reason to be there. So in early sobriety, when I had to show up and make the coffee, I had to show up like a half an hour early to clean everything up and make the coffee. And so I had even more of a reason to get off of my super comfortable recliner that I still miss today and go to this meeting. It wasn't just because I knew that it was the next right thing, but I also had a responsibility and I needed to be held accountable for that, how I was supposed to contribute to that fellowship. So, same thing, like I show up to my stroke and vestibular recovery groups when I don't forget. I do have a problem forgetting. But when I actually host them, which I hope I won't forget that, when I host them, it gives me even more of a reason to be there. So having a list of stuff to do when we have a failure of the imagination, um, signing up and volunteering for things in and around your support groups or sobriety, whichever applies to you. And then we have this mental clarity that comes when we are sober. And it takes time, but there is this inevitable mental clarity that follows. And I would say it took over the first year, it was happening for me. It's so funny because when I think back to the first year, I remember just being in a complete fog. And I remember people saying the fog will clear. And like towards the end of the first year, I felt like, oh yeah, I'm so much more mentally, I have so much more mental clarity. But when I compared my mental clarity today to how I felt after the first year, like it just gets better and better. So the reason why I bring up this mental clarity is because some of the activities that we can participate in are not just moving our bodies. There are things like reading, writing, journaling, calling someone, taking a class. These are great activities for our brain. And my brain needed some freaking exercise because I wasn't using it. I wasn't using it for a really, really long time. Even in college, I was barely scraping by to use it. I was a math major, which makes me feel really like smart, right? It makes me feel smart that I was a math major. I almost didn't graduate because I drank my way through college. And so it was all the way back then that I was just shutting down my brain and using as little of it as possible to get by. And today, well, in sobriety, I just loved it, but I definitely went overboard, which is why I ended up working like 10, 12-hour days sometimes because I just didn't know how to turn it off. And I think that happens to a lot of people in sobriety is this, we overdo it. And I'm doing it again. I talk about it all the time in stroke recovery is overdoing it. So it's important that when we are doing any of these activities that we're talking about, when we're channeling our energy, this pent up energy into these activities, don't overdo it. Like if you have a house project, yesterday was a great example for me. Yesterday, I had just a mental list of all of these things that I wanted to do. And they included, like, I don't know, I wanted to kind of clear out some of the plants and the furniture in the bedroom, move things around, caulk the bathroom, sink, and I wanted to block my new crocheted women's cocoon that I made. And like the list, I have such a long list of things that I wanted to do yesterday. And typically, I'm pretty good at like picking one or two and then sitting back and being like, okay, I've done enough today. That didn't happen yesterday. I had all these house projects and I just if I have a good day, I'm like it's like I'm making up for lost time. If I have a less symptom triggering day, I'm making up for the past week where I was triggered constantly. So I have to remember easy does it. I have to remember that resting is an activity. And it is okay just to be. I mentioned yesterday, being present needs to be enough. A lot of times, being present just needs to be enough. But so balancing this action with rest is important. And um, sometimes just being present, being fully present is the action. Because if I'm fully present, then my mind can't be thinking about other things. Being fully present means that I'm listening, I'm breathing, and I'm being a part of the here and now. I'm right where my feet are. That's what I mean by whenever I say I'm right where my feet are. It means that my mind is just not thinking about something else. And so being present can be an action. It's hard to think of not moving my body as an action. I struggle with that. So this is everything I talk about here is I'm telling myself as well that, okay, Rachel, you need to practice like When your thinker has all the momentum, start moving your body so your body has momentum instead of your mind. And don't wait for motivation, create it. Sometimes just taking one step at a time points me in the direction that I need to go today to redirect my thinker and channel my energy in a healthy way. So that's what I have today. Thanks for bearing with me with my mind collapses. That's what I seem to be calling them. My mind just collapses and I have to figure out how to build it back up. But that happened a couple times today. So thanks for being patient with me, and I will talk to you tomorrow.